With the evolution of technology during the last century, many customs were left in the past. Among them, letter writing seems to be a clear example of how much everything has changed. Nowadays, it seems like only hopeless romantic people like to communicate like that. But not only hipsters send letters, serial killers do too. Here you'll find 10 unsolved mysteries with mysterious letters involved. Number 10. Roger Dean. Faking your own death might sound tempting sometimes, but we know better than that and don't give much thought to the idea. But Roger Dean wasn't like most of us, and thanks to that, the 20th of November marks the beginning of a living nightmare for Dean's family. It was 1985 when an intruder broke into Dean's house and kidnapped Roger and his wife. At this point, it was an awful but common crime. But when the intruder tried to take Roger out for a ride to the bank, everything went downhill and Roger was shot dead. When the police began to investigate the murder, they found several strange details about the way things went that day, leading them to believe that Roger had arranged everything beforehand to solve some financial issues he had. For years after that, Roger's wife got a letter from someone who claimed to be the killer, asking for $100,000 and threatening to kill her daughter Tammy. The weird thing is that the letter contained really personal information, which only a close person to the family could have known. After a few calls, they arranged a place to drop the money, but the killer never showed up. He told Tammy he would kill her when she least expected it, but he never did. Maybe there's still too much expectation. Number 9. The Fort Worth 3. Going shopping is a girl's thing, right? Just like getting kidnapped, apparently. On December 23, 1974, 3 Texan girls went out to buy some Christmas presents and never came back. Rachel, who was 17 years old, picked up her 14-year-old friend Renee Wilson, who brought along her neighbor Julianne Mosley, who was only 9 years old. The car Rachel was driving was found parked at Sears, and the presents were inside the locked car. But there wasn't any sign of the girls. The next day, a letter arrived to Rachel's husband, signed by Rachel. The letter said they were on a trip to Houston and would be back in about a week. Leaving aside the suspicious situation, the letter had many oddities. The handwriting wasn't Rachel's. Her name was misspelled. She addressed her husband too formally, and the postal code was blurry. The case never grew cold because the family kept looking for the girls, even blaming each other for the crime in a very melodramatic way. This is why you should always do your Christmas shopping early, everyone. Number 8. The 3X Killer. Having an affair might be a crime in several states, but it only gets a death penalty if you're part of a secret communist sect. Joseph Mazinski, a grocery store owner, was a married man, but had a running affair with Catherine May. He was with her that evening of June 11th, 1930. They were driving around, as they usually did, until they found a lover's lane near Queens, where they parked the car. Everything was going according to plan, but the romance quickly turned into sheer terror. A man with a German accent appeared next to the car, got inside and shot Mazinski, raped Catherine afterwards, and left her with a cryptic note. Some days later, a local newspaper received a letter where an anonymous man addressed Mazinski's friends. 14 more people would die if some unspecified documents weren't delivered to him. That same week, Noel Sowley and Elizabeth Ring were parking their car when a man asked Sowley for his license. After confirming his name, the man shot Sowley and gave Ring a similar note to the one given to Catherine. A week later, the newspaper received another letter where the man declared himself as part of an anti-communist group and assured the documents were already given to him and that they didn't need to worry about the murders anymore. And just like that, all the murders stopped. without much closure. But hey, how could a spy movie be good without some strange letters and unresolved mysteries? Number 7. Nylene K. Marshall. People love to go to the mountains to breathe fresh air and run away from routine. Sadly, for the Marshalls, the routine was literally taken away from them when their 4-year-old daughter disappeared in the middle of a trip to the Elkhorn Mountains. Nylene K. Marshall was playing with some kids when a guy wearing a purple jogging suit began talking to her. That was the last time Nylene was seen. It was just like she vanished into thin air. 2 years later, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received a letter from a man claiming he was raising Nylene as his own daughter and that he'll never give her back. Over the years, the man kept calling and writing the center to reaffirm his position, but neither the police nor any private investigator could find him. So, children, try talking to strangers with a better sense of fashion if you want to be safe. Being abducted by a Paris Hilton is just not cool. Number 6. Jane Doe 193UFNY. You know the moment when you see a cute person on the street and realize you'll never know their name? Well, the police department has been there too. In 1963, the police found a woman's body off the side of the road in Chautauqua County. The woman had been shot several times and didn't carry any documents with her except for a handwritten note which contained some cryptic codes. Many investigators tried to decipher it without any luck. Some believe the numbers were postal codes, and others claim they might be bibliographic references. After the biopsy, police believed the woman was either Canadian or European, but her DNA and fingerprints didn't match any in their databases. The investigation continued for a while, but without any suspects or clues, they reached a dead end. And the identity of the victim is, to this day, still a mystery. Everyone fears to be forgotten, so it's terrifying to imagine how could this woman become no one after death. Now that's what I call an identity crisis. Number 5. Baby Parker. Remember when your aunt caught you getting yourself in trouble and you made her a promise she wouldn't tell your mum, and then she obviously did anyway? Well, this anonymous girl really got herself in trouble. Dead babies kind of trouble. Some lady was walking her dog when she discovered a small body covered in a sheet. She reported to the police and they started to work on the case. Some weeks later, the police got an anonymous letter where a girl explained that she was the baby's mother, how she gave birth on the street, and that a friend told her the baby was dead and dumped the still alive baby on a parkside drive. The girl told police she didn't know who the father was and begged them not to do any DNA tests because she didn't want whoever the father was to know about it. Of course, the police did the DNA test, but they were out of luck, and neither the mother nor the father's identity was found. Number 4. The Tai Nong North serial killer. Using public transportation can be really annoying from time to time, but sometimes it becomes a deadly experience. In 1980, a man discovered 3 human bodies in a Tai Nong North scrub, which belonged to 3 missing women. What was the connection between them? They'd all been abducted while waiting for public transportation. 2 more bodies were found around the Frankston North, and both women were also kidnapped while waiting for the bus. The case grew cold until one of the victims' mother received a letter that stated he had information about the murder and would keep in touch. Some months later, the police received a letter where a man gave specific details that were never made public about the murders and claimed there was another victim. But even after cross-referencing the victims, doing the proper handwriting analysis, and searching the area for any clue, the police was never able to identify the author. Number 3. The Circleville Writer. Everyone has that friend friend who, without much explanation or justification, seems to know everything about everyone. Or, I don't know, that friend who scrubs Facebook really deep until he finds all the information he needs. This guy was, in some disturbed way, like that. In 1976, the people of Circleville, Ohio, got their very own creepy stalker. Several people began to receive letters from a man that addressed very personal and private issues. Among those persons was the bus driver, Mary Gillespie, who received many letters threatening her and her husband for months. In 1977, Mary's husband was found dead inside his car, which crashed on a tree. And though police claimed he died in an accident, it seemed he went out that day with his gun and an angry attitude. His gun had been fired, but the reason why still remains unknown. In 1993, Mary the writer began to place signs through the route Mary covered with her bus, until one day she grew tired of it and stopped the bus to rip one down. To her surprise, the sign was tied up to a trap, a box which contained a gun pointed at her. Something in the gun failed, and Mary survived. Paul Freshaw, Mary's brother-in-law, was accused of being the author of the letters and was arrested. But even with him in solitary confinement, the letters didn't stop. He was paroled in 1994 and always claimed he was innocent. Number 2. Wayne Griovet. Who doesn't love getting packages in the mail? That excitement of opening a box and seeing what's inside. Well, in December of 1996, Wayne Griovet got a mailbox which contained a note and a flashlight. Does this sound like the beginning of a video game to you? If you think the obvious thing to do is to try to turn on that flashlight, congratulations! You're dead. Wayne Griovet found out the hard way that some gifts are not welcome. Inside the flashlight was a plastic explosive that activated and killed him when he tried the early Christmas present. The note that accompanied the box contained a vague business proposal that closed with the line, "May you never have to buy another flashlight." A recent documentary uncovered some new information about the case, but in the end it wasn't enough, and no conclusive answer was found about the reasons behind the crime or the identity of the murderer. Let's hope someone will be able to shed light on this case someday. Number 1. April Tinsley. Being vulgar is definitely a turn down for most. But being vulgar and a pedophile murderer, that's a little too much. In 1988, the first grader, April Tinsley, was playing with some friends after school when she stayed behind and disappeared. 3 days later, her body was discovered and she had been raped and suffocated. 2 years later, a note was found on a barn where someone claimed to be the killer and states he'll kill again. Then, in 2004, 4 girls received letters with used condoms, where a man claimed he had been watching them. One of them contained Polaroid pictures of the man naked from the waist down. Forensic tests matched the letter's author with April's killer, but the DNA test couldn't identify any match with their databases, and closer inspection of the photos didn't bring any new leads. The identity of the killer is still unknown. The police department asked the public to let them know if they saw anyone who matched the killer's traits, who still used a Polaroid camera nowadays. Hipsters do seem to have more in common with serial killers than we thought, don't they? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe for more.